One more.
So when do we finish exactly?
Yes, 7:45 is Salah start. Give me 3 minutes before, so that
Okay, I'll finish off.
give me some time there, right here.
So 40. I'll finish at 40. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد الحمد لله نشكر الله سبحانه وتعالى. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this very small gathering. And I think we have to acknowledge the fact that this Eid was a very extraordinary Eid. We had it spread over 3 days, which is, alhamdulillah, a sign of that diversity we live in. And as they say, it is what it is. So hence this gathering is very small compared to previous gatherings. But alhamdulillah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all the efforts of each and every Muslim, irrelevant of what day they have Eid. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at the intention of people and the actions. My dear respected brothers and sisters of Islam, in this very short period of time, we have to have a very specific time frame here. I'd like to draw your attention to a very important point in the story of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. Traditionally, we hear of the sacrifice, he's sacrificing his son. That story is heard all the time. But there's one point I'd like to make to the brothers and sisters and myself, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given each and every individual the capacity and the potential to make choices. Now, as human beings, we choose what to believe in, what not to believe in, what to do, what not to do. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, either by birth, me and you, or some have embraced Islam, that was by either choice or Allah gave hidayat. Now, my dear respected brother, the story in Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, in the Quran about Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, very briefly, in the period of time, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was seeing around him idol worshipping. He detested that. It didn't make sense to him. So in his mind, he had to go through a process of thinking, rationalizing, and come to a conclusion that what I see here in front of me, materialistic ways, that is not my Lord. And the point I'm trying to make is we need to start making a decision based on the fact that we know we are Muslim, number one. Number two, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rabbul Alameen. And number three, that we will depart from this world. There's three universal facts. Oh, not universal, among Muslims anyway. So my dear respected brothers, the verse where I'm referring to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, فَلَمَّا جَنَّ عَلَيْهِ اللَّيْلُ رَأَى كَوْكَبًا. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam is sitting in a cave, some say against a wall, relaxing, contemplating, and he sees the stars. When he sees the stars so bright at night, he says, قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي. He said, this is my Lord. This must be something great. He's in the contemplation process, thinking, rationalizing, and trying to make a decision on who do I worship. And that comes to our point. All the hard work done for us. We have the Quran, we have the Sunnah. We don't have to start thinking too much. But yet, we find ourselves falling short in making decisions that are good for myself and good for my akhirah. So my dear respected brothers and sisters of Islam, when the sun, فَلَمَّا أَفَلْ قَالَ لَا أُحِبُّ الْآفِلِينَ. When the stars disappear, he says, no, I don't love things that disappear. And then he contemplates, my dear respected brothers, فَلَمَّا رَأَى الْقَمَرَ بَازِغًا. Then he sees the moon shining. And he says, هَذَا رَبِّي أَكْبَرُ. This is my Lord. And when that disappears, my dear brothers and sisters of Islam, he looks at the sun and says, this must be Allah subhanahu, this must be my Lord. Now, my point is, he contemplates, my dear respected brothers, and he says, and when the sun sets and disappears, he said, no, this cannot be my Lord. Inni bari'un mimma tushrikun. I am free of what you associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my dear respected brothers and sisters of Islam, as we are adults, we have the Quran, we have the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we have the Salafus Salihin and the Sahaba to guide us. So we don't need to contemplate that much. We just need to make a decision. What do I want to achieve when I leave this world, my dear respected brothers of Islam? And this talk is for myself. Because within this context of living, within this turmoil in Palestine, in our own lives, our pursuit of materialistic means and gains, we seem to lose our decision-making process. My dear respected brothers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Al-Mulk about a people, my dear respected brothers, that will be thrown into the five Jahannam. There's a conversation that takes place. تَكَادُ تَمَيَّزُ مِنَ الْغَيْثِ كُلَّمَا أُلْقِيَ فَوْجٌ سَأَلَهُمْ خَزَنَتُهَا. Whenever the people who reject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and who fail to contemplate, make right decisions, when they put into أُلْقِيَ فِيهَا, they put in the fire, قَالَ لَهُمْ خَزَنَتُهَا. The guardians of that place will ask them, أَلَمْ يَأْتِكُمْ نَذِيرٌ? Important question. أَلَمْ يَأْتِكُمْ نَذِيرٌ? As they've been sent to the five Jahannam, Allah mentions, they will be asked by the Khazanah, the guardian, أَلَمْ يَأْتِكُمْ نَذِيرٌ? Did not some a warner come unto you? Did I not send a prophet unto you? And for us, my dear respected brothers, we are so fortunate. We have our parents are Muslim, most of us. We have khutbahs every Friday. We have lectures. There's always someone trying to warn us of the ultimate end of my life and your life. We are very fortunate, my dear respected brothers and sisters of Islam. And the conversation goes on, my dear respected brothers, and the answer is, قَالُوا بَلَا قَالَ جَاءَنَا نَذِيرٌ. But what they say, yes, a warner did come to us. They acknowledge it. فَكَذَّبْنَا. But we lied, we rejected it. So my dear respected brothers and sisters of Islam, when that day comes, what do we tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When we are asked, did a warner come unto you? What do we say? I was sleeping, I was working, I was engaging my family, I was earning kasbul halal sustenance, I was seeking an education. My dear respected brothers, and they will deny, say, no one actually came unto us. There will be two ways of saying it. My dear respected brothers, وَقَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعْ. This is a key point for us here. وَقَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعْ. If only we listened, وَنَعْقِلْ, and understood, مَا كُنَّا فِي أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. If we listened, if we understood, if we comprehended, we would not be among the people, the dwellers of the fire of Jahannam. Now, my dear respected brothers, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us that understanding. And I'm certain that we all have the mental capacity, the intelligence to make a decision. What do I want my end life to look like? What do I want my end life to look like, my dear respected brothers and sisters of Islam? Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, so much praise in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praise and elevate Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam to the point where all the religions follow and adhere and love Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam because of submissiveness. Where, as you are well aware, the Prophet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that when he even went to the point of sacrificing his own son to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one's asking us that. Ask ourselves a question, my dear respected brothers. Am I reading 5 times salah? A simple question. Am I refraining from haram and choosing the haram? Staying from haram and choosing halal? Am I choosing to read the Quran or am I choosing to read something else? The ability to choose from the right and the wrong, my dear respected brothers. Allah has gifted us with that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He wakes us up within, my dear respected brothers, to start making decisions that are beneficial for ourselves. It reminds you of being working in a place where we're always striving to do things to please our boss, so we can get promoted, so we can look good. What about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? My dear respected brothers and sisters of Islam, in the end of the conversation, after that whole life, فَاعْتَرَفُوا بِذَنْبِهِمْ فَسُحْقًا لِأَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. They will acknowledge their sin, their transgression, but for أصحاب السعير, they will be the dwellers of the fire. My dear respected brothers, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq hidayat, inshallah. And in this blessed day of Eid al-Adha, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our sacrifices. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my dear respected brothers, to grant the Palestinians and all those Muslims and all those suffering in place of conflict, peace and tranquility in these blessed days, my dear respected brothers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it very clear for us. No matter how you live your life, the question is how you choose to live your life. It's a choice. In the end, my dear respected brothers, in the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the very, very famous verse, which I forget a lot of times. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. That every living soul, my dear respect, and will taste death. At that time, don't take this to the wrong point. What you've earned in your life will be left behind. Your qualifications that you gained will be left behind, my dear respected brothers and sisters of Islam. The people you loved so dearly, it will be left behind. There's one hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when a person passes away, my dear respected brothers, inqata' amalu, working. All is stop working. Except for the charity that is given sadaqatun jariyah, وَالْعِلْمُ يَنْتَفِعُ بِهِ, and the knowledge that is departed and people are benefiting from that, and waladun salih, and those pious offspring that will keep on making dua for you, my dear respected brothers and sisters of Islam. So if we put that into perspective, ask ourselves this very important question: what decisions am I making in regards to my year after? I know what I'm doing for my employment, my plan next year, my holiday next week, my hajj, my umrah. I'm planning for that. The question is,